is Radio Drive. I'm John Pienaar. It's time to invite you into our daily briefing room, where one of our leading tactical and strategic minds with years of experience at a high level in the military share insights into the current state of the war in Ukraine. We can welcome Peter Zwack, retired Brigadier General, former US Defence Attache to Russia. Peter, welcome back and good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
It's good to have you here. Let me ask you about this first. Just now we've heard in just recent hours, I think, in this heightened tension around Ukraine, the Russian leader Vladimir Putin is now boasting about a new generation of intercontinental ballistic missile. It's the Satan II to English speakers, and Putin's telling us that it is capable, if launched from, I think, Western Russia, capable of striking a British city minutes after being launched. So how worried should we be about that kind of weapon, or is it really just about bravado in the climate of the Ukraine war?
I think it is the latter. We have to take it very, very seriously. However, the Sarmat, which is basically based on the old SS-18 with a range of 6,000 to 7,000 miles estimated, is desperately lethal. But I believe it is brandishment. They brandished it before the invasion. They were talking about it with high publicity even a few years ago when it first was announced. So I think it is dangerous. It's also Russia, Putin saying, hey, don't push too hard. Remember, we've got nukes. However, this is not a way they want to go, I don't believe, because there is no successful end state.
Right. Well, let's comfort ourselves with the thought that Vladimir Putin may not be in any hurry to launch a nuclear weapon at this country. But just looking at the capacity of this particular weapon, how does it add to the potential threat? Because we know, don't we, there are Russian submarines out there capable of launching nuclear weapons that are capable of striking the UK and other countries at very short notice. How does this add to the potential danger?
John, I believe that the word I would use, rather than it piles on to the existing existential threat to the world, a number of nations, including my own, Russia, UK, we have civilization-ending capabilities so it piles on an already very, very dangerous level of nuclear weapons. And with the US and Russia, this becomes especially important as there are fewer guardrails today limiting them. New START is kind of stalled now. It had been approved, but there's not much in arms control. So you get a mistake or a something inadvertent, it could go dangerous very, very quickly in this cyber world. So it adds to already existential threat out there.
Well, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole of nuclear hardware, but it is interesting in its own space. And you'll remember, of course, that in the earlier stages of the Ukraine war, we heard a lot about the hypersonic weaponry available and being used by Russia. Those weapons are, it's right to say, isn't it, they are pretty much unstoppable. They're potentially a first strike weapon.
Yes, it is. It is fast. It is not stealth, but hard to acquire. It again adds on to the already lethal, desperately lethal mix of weapons. As such, it is a major factor, but not a game changer in this highly sensitive world. We've seen them launched against Ukraine. Yes, they're bad, they're troublesome, and they do create capabilities that makes it hard for anti-ballistic interception, but it is not a complete game changer.
Okay, now let me just shift to a couple of strategic questions on the map of Europe, because there's a great deal of tension now bubbling up, isn't there, when it comes to Kaliningrad. That is the Russian enclave, which is separated from the landmass of Russia by Lithuania and by Poland. And Lithuania is now stopping Russian traffic, or certain Russian rail traffic, from getting to Kaliningrad, that Russian enclave, which has infuriated Moscow. Just give us a sense of the importance of this latest dispute.
Yes, I don't know what Russia or what Moscow expects. They invaded unprovoked Ukraine. And I think it was magnificent that both your prime minister and Sec State Defense were there recently. But what is going on with Lithuania is rank intimidation. Yes, there has been a rail line. It is the principal ground route to supplying this exclave of Kaliningrad, which, if you look at a 1938-39 map, it's a lot like Danzig was to the Nazis, that Kaliningrad is to the Russians. And it is there. It is a factor. They've got Iskander missiles in there, but it is also very difficult to defend. It's bordered by NATO. Even harder if Finland and Sweden comes in. We know that's not decided. Poland, it's on its border. Lithuania. So it is a complex region, and there is also a lot of bluster there too.
And it houses the home port of the Baltic Russian fleet.
A lot of offensive capability.
Yeah, and it houses the Black Sea Russian fleet, so of enormous value to Russia. But crucially, and just finally and briefly, if I can, I guess the key point to bear in mind here, Peter, is that Lithuania is a member of NATO.
Absolutely right. They are a key member as the three Baltic states up there. Yes, the Russian Baltic fleet steams, if you will, out of Kaliningrad, and it is a strategic factor in the region. But it is also exposed for the Russians. While it is a very, very difficult entity, if you will, within NATO's defenses along the Baltic in the north, and it borders also Belarus. And that all makes it complicated as well.
Okay, so one to watch very carefully.
It doesn't quite border Belarus, but there is a lot of worry about if it really goes to war, that a corridor, the Zwack corridor, is tried to chop from Russia, Belarus in there. We're not there, but yes, the rail line is a big deal for supply and sustenance.
Okay. We need to watch that corner of the map. Peter Zwack, great to talk to you. Thank you. Coming up, and that was the moment the Russian journalist Dmitry Muratov auctioned off his Nobel Peace Prize for a whopping £84 million, new record for the award. Now, following the sale, the editor-in-chief of the independent newspaper Novaya Gazeta gave his reaction.
I think selling the Nobel Prize medal to help Ukrainian children is important to me because I'm a Russian citizen and Russia has invaded Ukraine. I feel responsible for what my country and my country's citizens are doing. I'm sure a lot of Russian citizens, just like us, want to do something. We're trying to do something.
Now, the money raised from the auction will go to UNICEF, who are helping Ukrainian children displaced by the war. And I'm joined now live by Joe English, a spokesperson for UNICEF. Joe, good evening to you.
Hi, John. Thanks so much. Good to be with you.
It's great to have you here, Joe. So, from Dmitry Muratov there, what a huge gesture and an even bigger response.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible. You know, I think we were incredibly grateful when he made the decision to auction off his Nobel Prize. You know, previously, I think they've gone for something around 5 million, but this is just something else. And so not just Mr. Muratov, but also, of course, the anonymous bidder, you know, and then Heritage Auctions as well, who waived all of their fees. And so, you know, I think I speak on behalf of all of us at UNICEF when I say, you know, we're incredibly grateful for these funds, and, you know, we're going to be able to spend them because the needs of children are absolutely huge. And, you know, we're doing everything that we can to reach children inside the country and then also those who fled as refugees.
And that wonderful check, £84 million, $103 million, that's going to make a big difference to children and orphans in Ukraine, isn't it? Just give us a sense of how the money might be used.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. You know, I was in Ukraine and in Poland and meeting children and families who are affected. You know, and this really goes from providing the basics of life, so safe drinking water. We estimate that there's 1.4 million people in the east of the country who don't have access to safe drinking water on a daily basis. You know, it also means shelter, but it also means those things which, you know, may not be life-saving, but for children going through these kind of things, it makes such a difference. Toys, education. We've been delivering toys to children who've been living underground in shelters, in subway stations throughout the last 3 months, because you have to give them a little bit of hope for the future, because these children are going through something which I don't think any of us can even begin to imagine, honestly. And so providing this small sense of relief is huge. And $100 million, £84 million, that allows us to reach a lot of children.
Yeah, and that's the size of that purchase price. I mean, we don't know who the owner is, sadly. The owner of the bidder was anonymous, but it's a mark of the way the war in Ukraine and those who need help from the war in Ukraine, these children, these orphans, it has so touched the imaginations and the hearts of so many people around the world. And this bid is evidence of that. There were wonderful scenes at the auction, weren't there, Joe, of bidders egging each other on to bid higher and higher.
Yeah, and I think that's testament to the shared sense of humanity around this. The bids opened on Children's Day, Ukrainian Children's Day, 1st of June. Yesterday was World Refugee Day. On Sunday, it was Father's Day, and I spent the day reflecting on the fact that for so million children in Ukraine, they're not with their fathers because either they've fled from areas where the fighting is most severe, or they fled borders and they've had to leave fathers, older brothers alone. And so, I hope that this gives them that sense that the world is with them. That's certainly how we feel at UNICEF. But ultimately, funding is critical. It's hugely critical. But children need peace, because if they're going to be able to effectively rebuild their lives, which is what this money will help them do, then they need an end to the fighting. They need the guns to fall silent.
Yeah, well, Dmitry Muratov expressed his hope that this could be the beginning of a new trend, a kind of flash mob effect. So celebrities with items that people want to buy and bid money for could just follow each other one after the other and have auctions and raise an awful lot of money for such a very, very good cause. It's so good to talk to you, Joe. Thank you for coming on. That's Joe English.
Thanks.
From UNICEF.